Hey everybody. Well, a friend of mine sent me a text and said, "Hey man, I'm making a lot of falafel, and how do you make those pink pickles?" I said, "Okay, I'll show you how to do it." They're known as Torshi lefet or pickled turnips, and a lot of these recipes can date back as far as the 13th century, as far as we know. There's a book known as Kitab al-Tabikh, or basically cookbook, by a man named Hassan al-Baghdadi. Now, he was very prolific in his writings about food and partying and socializing and what have you in that era. And this is a little nod to the history of that pickle. Anyways, if you're making, let's say, a shawarma or falafel sandwich, you might be interested in this one. Let's go. On today's episode, we're going to do lefet makbous, torshi lefet, or pickled turnips. So, I went to the garden and I picked up 1 pound of fresh turnips. This is the Purple Prince variety. Really tasty. They're a good source of vitamin B6, folate, copper, calcium, high in dietary fiber, and they taste pretty good too. So try it out. So once you've picked them and washed them, we're also going to need 1 beet. So the ratio for making this pickle is usually 1 beet for every pound of turnips that you use. And the first step, obviously, is to peel everything. So you take your time, get a peeler, remove all the skins off of the beets and the turnips. Then we get a super clean glass jar with a tight fitting lid. Now I'm using a vegetable sheeter in this particular case, but you just need to cut the turnips into bite-sized pieces and the beets as well. Make sure everything's uniform, then it pickles all at the same time. See the lovely white color from a fresh turnip? Has a little bit of a bite, and it's related to the mustard plant, so it has a little bit of zing to it as well. Now once I've cut all my vegetable sheets, I'm going to roll it up very tightly, sort of make it into a big cylinder. And once I've done that, make sure it's super tight, and we get it into a shape that looks something like this, and then I'm going to cut it. So you cut the cylinder maybe 2-3 times, or as fine as you want, and this gives you almost like a noodle shape, very thin, very long, but it works well. Also, if everything's thinner, it pickles a little bit quicker. So when I put it into my sandwich, I get these long strands, just like this. Then we pack the turnip into the jar that we've cleaned. And once that's done, we're going to add the sliced beets. Now we cut them all in the same manner. It doesn't really matter how you cut it. Just make sure everything's the same thickness and roughly the same size. So that way you won't have any bits that won't pickle at the same rate. And then to finish it off, we add more turnips until we get our jar completely full of vegetables. Now this method is known as a refrigerator pickle or a quick pickle. Basically, you make a hot brine, you add it to your vegetables, you leave it for 5 days at room temperature, and then it'll keep in the fridge for about 2-3 months. So the first step to making a brine is you need 500 ml of vinegar. I'm using distilled white, but you could use red wine if you wanted. We're also going to need 50 grams of pickling salt, which is about 3 tablespoons worth. And we're also going to need 250 ml of water. So the first step, you add salt to the vinegar, add your water, bring it to a boil, and you're ready. So you fill your jar full of vegetables about a ½ inch from the top. This is a good way to make sure that everything's covered. Stir it up, make sure there's no bubbles. And then what we do is to close the lid and we leave it for 5 or 6 days. The vinegar and the heat from the acids will help break down our vegetables, preserve them a bit longer, and give them that nice pickle flavor. Now there are obviously other methods of pickling. You can do lacto fermentation if you want, but this is a simple, quick method. And here we go. Keep it for 5 days at about 24 degrees Celsius or 75 Fahrenheit, and then put it in the fridge. Now these pickles don't have the same lasting capacity as a regular pickle, but they're very tasty. And you notice the difference in color after 5 days? Nice, dark, magenta color, nice bite to it. And here's another recipe you can do with cauliflower and red cabbage, following the same method as we did before. Now in the Middle East, this is known as Torshi arnabit wa korom, basically red cabbage with cauliflower. Now metse and pickled vegetables are very typical in these regions. Very simple procedure. You just make different layers of cauliflower and red cabbage. You alternate. You fill it up with your brine, cap it, leave it for 5 days at room temperature, and then it'll keep in the fridge for about 2 months. And here's a nice little meze platter I made. Some feta cheese, some pickled turnips, carrot salad, tomato salad, and hummus. Enjoy your week, everybody.